Hello and good morning, Louisvillians. Let's get a round of applause for everyone who made the trek out this morning in this treacherous weather. I had joked, it's also the 250th anniversary since Thomas Paine authored Common Sense. And so if you know the parable of the Sunshine Patriot, clearly none of you are Sunshine Patriots. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just know that's a very good thing. Thank you for coming out on this blustery day. I want to take a moment first to recognize the President General of the Sons of the American Revolution, President General Mike Elston. If you could please join me to command the colors, please.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sons of the American Revolution headquarters. Color Guard Commander, advance the colors.
Time, march! Halt! To the center, face.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Present colors, present firelocks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shoulder colors, shoulder firelocks. Flag bearers to the right, about face. Prepare to post. Post.
Please remain standing while the color guard exits.
To the right, about face. To the left, face. Mark time, march. The front, march. Mark time, march. Halt. To the right, face. Color guard, dismiss.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, hello and good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Geese, and I have the distinct honor of serving as chairman of the City of Louisville's America 250 Commission. And on behalf of the commission, we want to sincerely thank the many members of the community present here today. You know, I think as we stop and we reflect on 250 years this coming July, since the founding of our country, the United States of America, it's very important to remember that there have only been 2 years of the United States without a Louisville. Our city was founded in 1778, the United States in 1776. So stop and consider the fact that while some may think Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. later in history, know that as Louisvillians, you too have a distinct role in the history of this nation, going as far back to 1778 with our city's founder, Revolutionary War General George Rogers Clark. With that, I want to note the many great people who have come together and worked tirelessly to get us to this point, because this is a kickoff. This is a year-long festivity. In Louisville, we do festivals big. Ask Dodie with Kentucky Derby Festival. She's over here somewhere. we know how to plan a party, and Louisville would not be okay with a very, very, we did something on the 4th of July. No, this is a year-long festivity, a celebration, a cerebration, and a commemoration. With that, and without much further ado, I want to quickly thank each member of the commission. Please hold your applause till the end, but if you are a member of the commission and named, please wave, stand. Kicking things off with Jessica Dawkins of Locust Grove, Metro Councilwoman Dr. Barbara Shanklin, Metro Councilman Andrew Owen, Metro Councilwoman Josie Raymond, Metro Councilman Jonathan Joseph, Lamont Collins of Roots 101 African American Museum, Dr. Jasmine Ferrier of the University of Louisville, Drew Height, Sons of the American Revolution, Dr. Patrick Lewis of the Filson Historical Society, Mike Maloney of Louisville Metro Special Events, Sarah Provenance of the Jefferson County Republican Party, Jordan Sorka of Louisville Tourism, Ashley Smith of the Waterfront Development, Andy Triton of the Fraser Museum, Roz Welch of the Democratic Party of Jefferson County, Jennifer Whitehead of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Evan Wright of the Jefferson County Republican Party, Dodie Howlett of Kentucky Derby Festival, and last but not least, our dedicated staff, Jessica Kincaid and Savannah Darr. Please give these individuals a rousing round of applause. And with that, as a lifelong Louisvillian, born and raised in Pleasure Ridge Park, a graduate of Atherton High School, Bellarmine, and the University of Louisville, it is my honor to announce our mayor, Mayor Craig Greenberg. Let's stand and give him a rousing round of applause.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone. Please be seated. What a great day, and what an important year for our country. This year marks 250 years since the Declaration of Independence launched America's bold experiment in democracy, an experiment that is still a work in progress. The Declaration is honest about grievance, bold in its moral clarity, and radical in its claim that power belongs not to kings, not to strongmen, but to the people themselves. The Declaration does not speak softly. It asserts that rights are inherent, that power must be accountable, and that we, the people, are the ultimate stewards of a free nation. At a time like this, when our country feels so divided, when trust in institutions is strained, and when too many Americans feel unheard or left behind, it's worth remembering what the Declaration of Independence actually is. It is not a celebration of comfort. It's a declaration of responsibility at a time when ordinary citizens accepted extraordinary responsibility for the future of liberty. And it's a challenge to all of us to improve. And every generation over the past 250 years has been called to narrow the gap between our ideals and our actions. The Declaration reminds us that democracy is not self-executing, freedom is not automatic, and progress is never inevitable. It depends on citizens who are willing to engage, to disagree without dehumanizing one another, and to place the common good above personal or political gain. And so we are so fortunate that here in Louisville, we have an incredibly rare, original 1823 William Stone copy of the Declaration of Independence that we are bringing out of its longtime storage today for our community and our nation to see firsthand, to be reminded of the ideals and challenged to keep working towards the goals set forth in the Declaration of Independence. This is really special. History is literally being brought back to life today in Louisville when we unveil this original stone copy of the Declaration of Independence. It was donated to the city in 1986 by William Malloy Sr. Two of his sons, Mark and Tim, are here with us today, and you'll hear from Mark in a minute. This copy is one of only about 30 or 40 of the 200 original copies that still has survived to this day from 1823. It's been preserved for the past many years at U of L Library Archives, Thank you very much to our friends at U of L for preserving this national and civic treasure. And we're so excited that it's going to be on display here at the Sons of American Revolution this year in connection with the celebration of our American 250th celebration. In making this foundational document available to the public to see and read, I hope we also affirm that their meaning is not finished, and the work that was begun long, long ago is ours to continue to carry forward. And it's important to also remember, as Ben just alluded to, that Louisville has always played an integral role in our nation's history. Born on the banks of the Ohio River in 1778 during the American Revolution, Louisville became a connector, supplying troops and fueling commerce. Louisville was the launching point for the Lewis and Clark expedition. It's the birthplace of great folks like U.S. President Zachary Taylor and Muhammad Ali and so many more. And over the last 2.5 centuries, Louisville has given this country and the world so many new innovations and things to celebrate. From the first successful hand transplant to cultural icons like the Louisville Slugger and the Kentucky Derby, our city always leads with innovation and creativity. And so today, we continue to fuel our country that was founded on bold new ideas, equality, and freedom. And as we build on our story of progress, we are guided by a clear responsibility to keep building a city that is welcoming to all, that is stronger in its economy, that is safer in its neighborhoods, and healthier for everyone. This moment belongs to all of us. America 250 in Louisville will reflect the voices, cultures, and experiences of everyone across our entire city. And so to help lead this work, I'm so excited that Metro Council and our administration helped form the America 250 Commission. You just heard Ben reflect on all of the folks that are volunteering as part of that effort. People coming across together from all over our entire community to ensure that this celebration for the rest of the year reflects our full history and reaches every corner of our community. I'm thrilled to be with you today for this great unveiling. And this would not be possible, as I mentioned, without the generosity of a really committed Louisvillian in 1986 who purchased and then donated this stone copy of the Declaration of Independence to what was then Jefferson County, now Louisville Jefferson County. Please join me in welcoming one of Mr. Malloy's sons to tell us a little bit more about the acquisition and this donation. Please join me in welcoming Mark Malloy.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor. It's my honor and privilege to be here today, and I can't think of a better place to be to introduce this document again to the city of Louisville than here in this magnificent headquarters. I say that because of the obvious connection of this document to the founding of this country, but I also say that because if there is one word among many that would define my family and my family members, I would use the word patriots. And just not correcting Mayor Greenberg, but this gift was made possible to Jefferson County, Kentucky by my mother and my father, by Bill Malloy as well as my mother, Katie Malloy. And they're both gone. And in a moment, I'll talk briefly about the provenance of this particular document and the history behind my father's acquisition of it and desire to give it to the community of Louisville, Kentucky. But briefly, how appropriate that this document, and in a moment I think you'll appreciate maybe even more its uniqueness to not just the state of Kentucky and not just the United States of America, but to the free world. How incredibly appropriate that this document will be housed here in Louisville, Kentucky, was given here in Louisville, Kentucky. This city, as we all know, was named for the monarch of France, Louis XVI. And but for his generosity in providing his fleet, his troops, and munitions to George Washington's Continental Army, this document may have been nothing more than a mere footnote. something that would have had no relevance yet even today. So very appropriate that we're here in Louisville, Kentucky with this document. The War of 1812 had just concluded. As all of you that know your history know, the British had burned much of what we know as the nation's historic properties then in Washington, D.C. They had burned the U.S. Capitol, both houses of the Congress. They had burned what was then referred to as the President's House, subsequently known as the White House. They burned the War Department. They burned the Treasury. All of this was retribution for their losses in Canada, inflicted by the American forces. And so the original initiating documents of our country, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all of those documents had been gathered up and were literally moved from Washington, D.C. to various locations in rural Maryland and parts of rural Virginia. They literally were moved to private locations for a number of years until the War of 1812 ended. At the end of the War of 1812, the original parchment Declaration of Independence was in pretty rough shape, pretty fragile document. We understand parchment today to typically mean pieces of paper. Parchment in those days, traditional parchment in those days, was animal skin. And that's what the Declaration of Independence had originally been authored on. And the signatories actually signed their names on. John Quincy Adams was the Secretary of State under President James Monroe. And in 1820, he commissioned an engraver in Washington, D.C., a gentleman whose name was William Stone. That's why this is referred to. It was a stone engraving. I remember being confused early on when I would hear stone engraving, wondering, is this something that was actually done on stone? That's just the name of the engraver. But John Quincy Adams engaged William Stone to create a perfect duplicate replica of the original Declaration of Independence. He took 3 years and created a copper plate. And we don't know definitively from history how that copper plate was created. It was either done by a wet ink transfer process or it was literally mimicked in hand to be a perfect replica, including signatures, of the original Declaration. That copper plate was then given to the State Department. John Quincy Adams then asked that 200 new parchment copies be created, 200 exact replicas. The purpose of his having commissioned that work to be done was literally to create an official exact size, 24 inches by 30 inches, the size of the original Declaration, on parchment for preservation purposes, including signatures. Those original 200 copies were then distributed. There were 3 original signers of the Declaration of Independence still alive in 1823. You know who 2 of them are because they were part of the Committee of 5 that the Second Continental Congress created to write the Declaration of Independence. You know that Thomas Jefferson, who drafted the first draft, and John Adams, both of whom died July 4, 50th anniversary of the publication of the Declaration of Independence. They were still alive. And then the oldest and the last surviving of all the original signers, a gentleman named Carroll from Virginia, were alive. They got copies. Universities got copies. States got copies. Those 200 were distributed. As Mayor Greenberg said, today we believe there are maybe 31 to 35 of those original documents left. Let me digress a little bit and talk about my father, who made the acquisition on behalf of his family. Just as my brothers and I are products, lifelong products of this city, and all came back to this city to make our homes in this city after we completed our educations, my father was a lifelong product of this city. My mother was a lifelong adult product of this city, born down in Stearns, Kentucky, raised in Somerset, Kentucky, and came up here after she got out of high school. Married my father. They created their family. Dad had the privilege of serving his country in the United States Army at the end of the Second World War. He also had the privilege of being stationed in Berlin and Nuremberg following the end of the Second World War. Why? Because as an 18-year-old, he could read and write German fluently. And his second lieutenant made an appointment for him to the Judge Advocate Corps, and he stayed after and worked translating documents for the prosecuting colonel's office in the war trials at Nuremberg. And that's where he developed his love of documents, his love of travel, his love of and knowledge that the world has so very much for all of us to learn from. He came back here, he went back to the University of Louisville, completed his education, established his own law practice, and became a lover and collector of art, manuscripts, documents of all kinds. But first and foremost, loved this community. Talked at the time that this gift was initially given to Sheldon Schaefer, who wrote the articles then in the Courier and the Louisville Times, about how he would walk down here from Central Park, where he was raised, the area that he grew up in. He would come downtown to Louisville because he would love to gaze at the buildings in downtown Louisville. Loved the statue of Thomas Jefferson. Wanted to be a lawyer. Always knew that he wanted to be a lawyer. He had been a collector of artwork and documents and manuscripts, and he had had his eye on this document. The provenance on this particular document is it was one of 5 that had originally been in the state of Maine after it had originally been produced. He'd had his eye on this document for some length of time. This document had been housed at the Scriptorium in Beverly Hills, California, which was, it's now no longer, but it was at the time a rare manuscript dealer, a rare books and manuscript dealer. Dad had promised anonymity to the individual from whom he was able to purchase it. When he acquired it always with the intent that it would become a public gift. He never acquired it to hold it as a treasure. Sort of a standing joke amongst the next generation of Malloy children, my children, certainly, maybe Tim's, maybe Pat's, wondering why their grandfather made the gift, didn't hold on to it. But that's from watching too many episodes, I think, of, what's that program on KET about Antiques Roadshow. Thank you. Anyway, but Dad always acquired it with the intent to give it to Jefferson County, and he did that when Harvey Sloan was the county judge executive here in Jefferson County. And for the longest time, this document was housed in casework in the county, in the rotunda of the county courthouse. As I said, 31 to 35 are known to exist. Think about what I'm about to say, and then I promise you I'll wind this down. Here's where those 31 to 35 exist that we know of. Some of them we don't know the whereabouts of. But the National Archives in Washington, D.C., which is also where the copper plate, and by the way, another nuance, forgive me for digressing, once this is revealed, you'll be able to see there is a piece on this that was on the original copper plate, piece of print work on this that was on the original copper plate, and there were guide markings on the original copper plate that are also evident on this document. Following the publication of the document, the reproduction of the 200 copies, John Quincy Adams told William Stone, now go back and alter the copper plate so that there can never again be another like or similar to what they caused to happen then. That bears up the authenticity of this. But the National Archives, locations that we know of, the National Archives, the Library of Congress, the White House, Boston Public Library, Harvard University, the Smithsonian Institution, the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan, and right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It is with great pride and privilege that I am able to express my gratitude on behalf of all of my family, not just for what this community has done for me in my life, but what this country has done for me in my life, what the public education that each of myself, my brothers, my children, all were afforded through this university, through this community. I could live 15 lifetimes and never be able to express the gratitude that's due for all the grace and all the gift that has been given to us. So please encourage so many others to come down here and view this incredibly unique gift and treasure. As Mayor Greenberg said, it really does embody John Locke's ideas about the Enlightenment, the notion that our natural rights, life, liberty, property, social contract based on self-governance, and is this not appropriate? The right to revolution? If that's not current and currently appropriate, I don't know what else is. Please encourage any and all to come down here and revere this beautiful piece of history. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing those words with us. And I hope everyone here today, and I hope people all across the city are able to hear that, to know how special this truly is to have this copy, this stone copy of the Declaration of Independence here in Louisville at the Sons of American Revolution. And as has been alluded to, and as all of you know, this was a group that came together 250 years ago from different backgrounds with different ideas, but working towards a common goal with common aspirations that you see here today. And that experiment in democracy lives on in so many different ways throughout our country. And here on the local level, it continues to live on. And I'm proud that I've been able to work with my colleagues on Metro Council in so many different ways, whether it's passing the annual budget or implementing policies or working to create the commission to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our great country. So, and part of that is working together with people. People come from different backgrounds. You don't always agree on everything. But I've been proud of our ability to work across the aisle, to work together with people all across this city to move Louisville forward every day. So with that in mind, it's my great pleasure to introduce one of my colleagues who serves on Metro Council today, who's the chair of the Republican caucus. Please join me in welcoming Councilman Anthony Piagentini.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here at this truly historic moment. On behalf of the Louisville Metro Council, we are very excited to kick off America's 250th, also known as the semi-quincentennial anniversary today. I want to begin by thanking Mayor Greenberg, Ben Gies, the members of the 250th Anniversary Commission, and the Sons of the American Revolution for hosting us. It is fitting that we gather at the headquarters of the Sons of the American Revolution to unveil Louisville's own stone copy of the Declaration of Independence, a document that truly changed the course of history. When we think about the Declaration, it's easy to see it as a sacred artifact, words on parchment framed behind glass. But at the moment it was signed, it was not just a symbolic document to be revered. It was an act of extraordinary courage by men looking to create a new system of government. The 56 men who signed the Declaration were not rebels in theory. They were traitors in the eyes of the most powerful empire in the world, and many paid a steep price. 5 were captured by the British and tortured, 12 had their homes burned, 17 lost everything they owned. Several died impoverished and broken. They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, and history records that they meant it. Today, as we unveil our stone copy of the Declaration, we are reminded that liberty is never free, it's never automatic, and it's never finished. Each generation is called to carry forward the promise they risked everything to secure. Here in Louisville, our predecessors knew something about that responsibility. George Rogers Clark helped secure the American frontier and ensured that Kentucky and much of the Midwest would belong to a free nation. Louis Brandeis, and I checked, it's Louis Brandeis, raised here in Louisville, went on to serve as the first Jewish United States Supreme Court Justice and became one of the great champions of individual liberty, privacy, and justice. And Muhammad Ali, born on Grand Avenue, used his voice, his strength, and his conviction to stand for civil rights, religious freedom, and human dignity. Their lives remind us that the spirit of the Declaration did not end in 1776. It lives on wherever we are willing to do the work to make our country more free and just. As Louisville kicks off this celebration, just as the original did 250 years ago this July, may this document call us to carry forth the torch of freedom for future generations. Thank you, and may God continue to bless Louisville, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers. At this time, I'm going to call on a small group where we will now proceed to unveiling the William Stone copy of the Declaration of Independence. If we could please have our Vice Chair, Ms. Jessica Dawkins, the President of the Filson Historical Society, Dr. Patrick Lewis, of course, Mr. Malloy and your spouse, if you could please join us. Of course, Mayor Craig Greenberg and First Lady Rachel Greenberg, the President General of the SAR, and Phil Boyd, the President of the SAR. If we could all sort of gather on each side of the document, you'll note those two cords. We will do a quick countdown and we'll pull back to unveil. We'll do it. If we could get the audience for a 3, 2, 1 countdown. 3, 2, 1. Huzzah!
The mayor's people wanted me to go after him. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Mike Elston. I'm the President General of the Sons of the American Revolution. I'm honored to be the 121st President General. And Mr. Mayor, I want to say thank you for trusting us to be the custodian of this document, to display it for the public during the 250th anniversary year. We are very, very proud of this opportunity. I'm a volunteer. My day job is with the Postal Service. I know. I'm well aware of the service in Louisville. We can discuss it later. Yeah, the Muhammad Ali stamp is great. Yep, absolutely. But the staff here, the full-time staff here, does a great job at headquarters. They're amazing, and I want to thank them for all their efforts, not only to make this possible, but for everything they do every day to make this available to the public. And they will be the primary custodians of this document, which will be in the room behind me, available for people. So let's hear it for the SAR staff. We are a nonprofit organization that was started almost 150 years ago to carry out historic preservation, educational, and patriotic initiatives. And this fits exactly with our mission. We're proud to partner with the City of Louisville to display one of its treasures here on Main Street. This document connects us in a real way to the generation that founded the country 250 years ago. When it was made, as we've heard, some of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were still alive. Many of the men and women who fought for independence were still alive. My own patriot ancestor died here in Kentucky in 1844, and he was still alive when this document was printed. It's fitting to display this here as we build another way to connect with the founding generation of Americans. When completed, the SAR Education Center and Museum, which is going to be just over there, will add to the attractions on Louisville's Main Street Museum Row, and we hope to help the city bring more visitors to Louisville in the years ahead. We hope you'll all stay around afterwards, after the ceremony, to talk to some of the SAR staff members, learn more about the SAR, see the place where we're going to display the document to the public, and hear about what we're building here in Louisville. So thank you for the partnership from the city. It's a pleasure to work with you on this and many other things, Mayor. Thank you.
It's also my pleasure to announce jointly both our Vice Chair, Jessica Dawkins, President of Historic Locust Grove, and Dr. Patrick Lewis, President of the Filson Historical Society.
In order to remain concise, I will be reading my notes. First, it is an absolute honor not only to represent Historic Locust Grove in this moment, but also as a citizen of the City of Louisville. So thank you, Mayor Greenberg, and thank you to our Metro Council for this incredible opportunity. As Vice Chair, I wanted to remind us of the perspective and importance of our history. History is often described as something behind us, but in truth, it lives within us and propels us forward. It shapes the way we speak, it shapes the values we carry, the courage we draw upon in difficult moments, and the vision we hold for ourselves in the future. And whether we realize it or not, every citizen walks with our history in their stride. So in this year of America 250, we are offered more than a milestone to commemorate. We are offered a moment to reflect and to act. In the beginning of our nation's history, imperfect people made bold choices. They argued, they debated, they failed, and they tried again. They also dared to imagine something unprecedented, that we could be a society built on the power of not a few, but on the dignity of many. And they left us more than documents and dates. They left us a guidebook. And this guidebook asks enduring questions through each generation. How do we balance our liberty with our responsibility? How do we widen the promise of freedom? And how do we build a nation that belongs to all its people, not just some? Our history tells us who we have been, yes, but more importantly, it tells us who we can be. So when we lose touch with history, we lose more than their stories. We lose our perspective and our empathy. We lose the hard-earned wisdom that teaches us how to disagree without destroying each other, how to rebuild after hardship, and how to keep faith in something that is larger than ourselves. And when we protect history, when we study it, when we preserve it, and when we share it, we give every child roots, we give every community presence, and we give every generation direction. Many know I believe that history does not belong to institutions. It belongs to our families and our classrooms, to our longtime residents and our brand new neighbors, to those whose ancestors signed the first chapter of our story, and to those who are just beginning to write their own. It belongs to all of us, and so as we mark 250 years, please let us remember that the American story was never meant to be finished. It was meant to be carried forward by informed citizens, thoughtful leaders, and people willing to learn from the past to shape our future. Because a nation that remembers is a nation that knows how to grow. So one of our most thoughtful leaders and one of our most important historical organizations, it is my honor to introduce Dr. Patrick Lewis.
We've heard so many fantastic perspectives on what this commemoration and what this document mean. I would add another layer of context here. This William Stone facsimile of the Declaration was commissioned in 1820, an intentional effort to remind Americans of their common purpose. Few Revolutionary veterans and signers were alive. The Republic had spread to become a continental power, and thousands of American families moved west for new opportunities. More pointedly, a national political crisis over the expansion of slavery, the first of many to come on the road to civil war, had led to Kentucky and Henry Clay brokering the Missouri Compromise and avoiding a calamitous dissolution of the Union for the time being. Americans lived in an age of dislocation, disconnection, and rising hostility, and so Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, son of a still living signer, commissioned 200 copies of the Declaration from Stone. Adams believed that by the power of the document itself, as much as the words it contained, Americans could be inspired to a renewal of the faith in the work that we all undertake together. Adams reminded his fellow citizens and us today that these ideals, that all men are created equal, endowed with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, were not just for 1776 or 1820, but forever. In an age where information is cheap, gathering to view this printing of the Declaration with your family, your classroom, your community group is an affirmation of truth, belonging, connection, and participation. It is an object that holds depth of feeling, at which, with which, through which we can resolve to be part of something larger than ourselves, to seek meaning in the imperfectly beautiful pen strokes rather than in characters rendered on a screen, to remind ourselves that this is a document produced and reproduced by human beings situated in their moment, flawed as they were, flawed as we are, yet all capable of transcendence when standing united.
Thank you to those speakers. Lastly, in closing, I'm going to ask a number of Louisville Cultural Institution leaders. When you hear your name, please join me behind me on the stairwell if you can. Andy Triton, president of the Fraser Museum. Patrick Lewis, president of the Filson. Jessica Dawkins, Locust Grove. Drew Height, Sons of the American Revolution. Jennifer Whitehead, Daughters of the American Revolution. Dodie Halley, Kentucky Derby Festival. And Rebecca Fleischaker of the Louisville Downtown Partnership. Let's all give a round of applause as they make their way. So this is not just an unveiling. For those of you in the media, please, please, please pay attention to this last point. This is not just an unveiling. This is a kickoff to a year-long celebration of America 250. And of course, none of that would be possible without our tried and true leaders of cultural institutions throughout the community. First and foremost, I want to thank Rebecca Fleischaker of the Louisville Downtown Partnership, who is a very, very early, yes, 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 we want to be a part of this person. So thank you so much, Rebecca. Your family has such an incredible role in this community, and you live that every day. The beautiful banners that you see throughout the downtown area, that's all Rebecca, and of course the mayor's office and Metro Council as well. So let's give her a round of applause real quick. Additionally, and if you could hold your applause to the end, some things that will be happening throughout the year. The Fraser History Museum is kicking off right now for the next year. It's galleries and new exhibitions, The Pursuit of Happiness, I Too Am a Kentuckian, and Revolutionary Threads. We urge everyone to go down to the Fraser to check that out. The Filson will be bringing in a number of speakers, mainly centered in and around the American Revolution, but also the role of Abraham Lincoln, Kentucky's native son, throughout the next year. Historic Locust Grove will be hosting a naturalization ceremony on July 4th. What better way to kick off the morning of July 4th in Louisville, Kentucky than welcoming our newest citizens? God bless them all. And also a civic season in Louis Virtue, where we will be teaching civic virtue and those ideas to young Louisvillians. The National Society of the Sons of the Revolution, as if they could possibly do more, they are. They will be, of course, opening their brand new museum here on Museum Row, hopefully in and around July 4th, as their gift to America. The Daughters of the American Revolution, not to be outshone by their male counterparts, of course, not at all, will be doing a Liberty Tree planting and a new marker to honor patriots who served in the Revolution here in Jefferson County, Louisville, Kentucky. And of course, we are in Louisville. Kentucky Derby Festival. Hello, Dodie Howlett. Thank you for being here. Thank you again for being an early yes person to this committee. Note that the festivals, one of the festival's themes, Festival on the Move, will honor the journey that connects all Louisvillians through movement, celebrating our country's history, our community, and the Derby Festival spirit. Participants are encouraged to celebrate all things that move, from iconic American history and technological progress to human-powered feats like sports and dancing. So no matter at what point you are throughout the year here in Louisville, you can expect something to be going on, thanks to these people behind me and many other folks in the audience. Lastly, and we'll close with this, we also want to announce a community grant pool of roughly $48,000, to where if you are not let's give a round of applause for that. To where if you are not a member of this commission, but you are the head of a nonprofit or a community member, your organization may apply at lou250ky.com. There will be an application open soon. The application will run February the 1st through February 27th. For grants starting at $500 up to around $5,000 for you to apply for your organization and get a slice of the America 250 Louisville pie. So we are a democracy. We believe in equality. We wanted to open this opportunity up to everyone. So without much further ado, we want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us today. Please feel free, mix, mingle, ask questions, look at the document. One quick note, we just ask that you, if you're of the media or a citizen alike, no flash photography. It is, from 1823, so let's be careful around that. But let's give all of the speakers a warm round of applause and thank you for this wonderful commemoration today. The SAR will also be hosting museum tours should you have interest.
It's